This is the final presentation on Imperial Japan and deals with how the international community responded to a forceful Japan extending its reach throughout Asia. It will include responses to Japan by the League of Nations, European countries, China, and America. Remember that this is just a brief visual overview of much more detailed information in the notes and documents on the website. Before we begin, just a bit of background. The League of Nations was a group made up of countries from around the world that was supposed to serve as a place of collective security where countries could take their complaints and work together so that they did not have to resort to war. In extreme cases, the League was supposed to be able to punish countries that broke the rules. In addition to the League, many countries that were a part of the League signed a treaty called the Kellogg-Briand Pact that swore that these 62 countries would not start wars. Both America and Japan signed this pact in 1928. So how did the League respond when the Kwantung Army attacked China? The League went with its collective security policy and asked Japan to withdraw its troops. Japan did not like this. The League set up an investigation and sent this guy, Lord Lytton, to Manchuria to figure out what happened. It was decided that Japan was completely to blame for their use of force. While the investigation took place, Japan set up a puppet government in Manchuria and increased their troops. When Lytton reported to the League and it was decided that Japan needed to withdraw their troops and give back their land, the Japanese were none too happy. The Japanese representative gave a speech calling Britain and France hypocrites, and then walked out of the League chambers and withdrew officially from the League. How did Britain and France, the powers of Europe, respond? Frankly, they didn't care. They were dealing with the Great Depression and did not want to invest the time or money on stopping Japan all the way on the other side of the world. While the rest of the world and the League ignored the pleas of the Chinese, they decided to take things into their own hands. The two groups in China that had been fighting a civil war for nearly 10 years decided to form an uneasy alliance, agreeing to fight the Japanese instead of each other. China was basically divided into three parts: communist, nationalist, and the part run by the Japanese. So Britain, France, and the rest of the League did nothing? Why didn't we self-righteous Americans step in to stop the Japanese atrocities? Well, we were pretty weak too. America was going through the Great Depression too, and our Navy was pretty weak. We actually voluntarily sank a bunch of military ships because we didn't think another war like World War I was possible, or that we'd get involved in it if it did happen. Another reason America did not punish Japan was that Japan was a good business partner. And this continued well into 1938. America would sell Japan oil and steel. Japan would use it for war against China. They'd send America money, and America would send them more war-making materials, and so on, and so on, and so on. But things began to change in 1938. President Roosevelt realized that Japan was getting too powerful. Their navy in the Pacific was greater than America's. America stepped up its game by giving more money to China to resist Japan. And, perhaps most importantly, the American people were changing their minds. When Japan signed the Tripartite Pact, the citizens realized that if we fight against Hitler in Europe, it's the same as fighting Japan in Asia. While it didn't mention America by name, the Tripartite Pact essentially said, when America attacks one of us, we'll all attack America. So this presentation went over the international responses to Japan's expansion, including the weak and self-interested responses by Britain, France, the League of Nations, and America, as well as the odd alliance between the communists and nationalists in China to fight the Japanese.